Well, the fall of the Assad regime has many Syrian refugees in Turkey, hoping they'll be able to return home soon. The UN's Refugee Agency says Turkey's registered around 3.2 million Syrians. Now, a day after rebels seized control of Damascus, Syrian refugees are lining up at border crossings in Turkey, like here at Bab al-Hawa. Well, UNICEF says around 90% of families in Syria are living in poverty, with more than 16 million people dependent on aid. Rasha Muhrez is Syria Response Director for Save the Children. She joins us from the Jordanian capital, Amman. Welcome to DW. How would you describe the situation in Syria at the moment?
At the moment, it's a situation filled with there is some hope and joy. There is some aspirations for a lot of Syrians in Syria and outside the country as well. However, it is coupled with fear and uncertainty of what's coming next, how the situation will look like. Everyone is afraid of getting into another series of violence, having lived nearly 14 years of conflict in Syria. So no one wants to see this happening again, and everyone is hoping for a peaceful transition of power in Syria, and hopefully having a chance finally for a lot of families and children in Syria to realize their dreams, to have better futures, to be able to attend their education, their livelihoods, to rebuild their country in the way they see best for the future of their children.
And so has the rebel alliance that's now in charge, have they given any indication of how or indeed whether they might change things for people living in poverty at the moment?
It's unclear yet how things will change, but as a humanitarian organization, Save the Children, together with our peer organizations, with the United Nations, with the UN agencies, we are committed to continue our presence in Syria throughout the country, to make sure we continue to deliver humanitarian assistance, to deliver on our commitment towards people in need, towards children and families who suffered throughout the 14 years of conflict, and at the same time to live up to our ambitions on behalf of the children, together with the children and their families, when it comes to start looking at economic recovery, early recovery activities, to start thinking peace building, social cohesion, resilience building, to bring in some desired change to these people's lives, and to kind of help them to go back to even better situations, to where they were before the 14 years of conflict. So we are hopeful that together as a humanitarian community, as civil society organizations, will be able to work together with the Syrians inside and outside Syria to bring in this aspiration, or this glimpse of hope for a better future, into more realistic, and to bring it down to real work and to real act for the future.
Thank you for that, and we wish you well with your efforts. Rasha Muhrez from Save the Children.
Thank you.
For more on this, we can talk now with Gonzalo Vatgas Llosa. He's the UN Refugee Agency's representative for Syria and joins us from Damascus. Thanks for being with us. Gonzalo, what can you tell us about the situation in and around Damascus now?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I mean, first of all, we can take one quick step back and look at the context, at the background to which these dramatic changes have taken place. This is a country that's been at war for 13 years. There are 16 million Syrians in need of urgent humanitarian aid. As a result of these years and years of fighting, more than 7 million Syrians have been internally displaced in Syria, and more than 5 million have fled Syria and are in neighboring countries, and of course also in Europe. Now, with this latest fighting and this dramatic change in the map of Syria, we have seen about 800,000 Syrians newly displaced inside the country. Again, creating an emergency on top of an emergency on top of an emergency. So this is the context. This is the background. At the same time, as you have shown in your report, there are, hundreds of thousands, millions of Syrians, those who were uprooted from their homes. Among them, we have seen, countless scenes of enthusiasm, of happiness about the possibility of being able to go home. And this, of course, is positive. People have been waiting for something to change in Syria to give them hope to come back. Well, that change is taking place as we speak. We've already seen some people returning, some Syrians returning from Lebanon, not in huge numbers yet, but yes, some are returning. I said this is
so
this
tell
is
us,
positive.
if you would.
Now,
Sorry, I was just wondering if you could tell us maybe what the UNHCR is doing to assist those Syrians who are returning to their communities. Give us a sense of their needs.
Yes, I think their needs, I think they have two types of needs. I think they have the immediate needs, what we would call the immediate humanitarian needs, and this is what we're trying to distribute and deliver in a very difficult context where there has been fierce fighting in the past few days, for example. But so we are delivering blankets, we're delivering mattresses, we're delivering water, we're delivering some food wherever we can, wherever the situation is secure enough. We make use of that space to be able to assist them together with our UN and NGO partners. But this will not be enough. This will not be enough to keep people in Syria. They need more than just bread and water. And what they need is shelter.
I'm just wondering what you're up against now under these conditions, and whether the conditions now, after the Assad regime has been defeated, whether you're able to coordinate with the HTS rebels that are in Syria now. Is it easier to get the kind of aid to the people who need it that you're talking about than it was before?
No, I think that you have, in the past few days, you've had a situation, of course, where there's been a lot of fighting while the map of Syria was being withdrawn, so redrawn. So during those days, it was, of course, very difficult to operate in many areas because there was active fighting. As the fighting has gone down, has decreased, I said we've used that space to be able to resume our activities. For example, in places such as Aleppo, in places such as Homs and Hama and so on. So as the fighting dies down in a particular place, then we resume our operations. But on the issue of return, of refugee return, which of course is a critical issue, not the least for the neighboring countries, but also for countries in Europe. There, I think that I talked about an opportunity and a hope among people. But for that dream of people to be able to return to Syria to happen, we need at least two or things to materialize. One, we need a peaceful transition. And, these are very early days. The Damascus has changed hands literally in the past 24 hours. So we need a peaceful transition, the restoration of law and order. Here in Damascus, from the window where I am sitting right next to, I can see, quite a lot of smoke. There is some looting and some burning. So law and order needs to be restored. At the community level, we need to see reconciliation. We need to see tolerance, coexistence. But also, what is absolutely needed is an injection of support from the international community, including from Europe. Injection of support in terms of humanitarian aid, but also longer-term financial support, so that we can stabilize those populations once they return in large numbers.
Gonzalo, thank you very much for talking with us today. That was Gonzalo Vargas Llosa from the UN Refugee Agency, the UNHCR.
Thank you very much for your time.